Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Red for Anfield Index. It is Saturday, the 11th of January. It's 4 o'clock now, and not that long ago, Liverpool played in the FA Cup third round, didn't they? At home to Accrington. So we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about the latest news stories. There'll be certain stories involving a Georgia winger, won't there, which are raging hard. Many things to talk about Liverpool related. I'm your normal host, Dave Davis, coming to you from a dark and cold, which is pretty much the same everywhere in the UK, Edinburgh. And to be fair, the weather was pretty treacherous, wasn't it? There was snow all around like there's been for the last few days. But most importantly, there was a warm feel inside Anfield, wasn't there? As Liverpool beat Accrington Stanley 4-0. Now, there's a lot of things that were nice, I think, about this fixture. Youngsters that got on the pitch and shone, which was good to see and had their moments. Accrington definitely didn't embarrass themselves either, did they? 4-0 you can look at the scoreline and think, were they well beaten? Yes, they were well beaten, but they had the chances. They had one they should have even buried, shouldn't they, realistically? There was a lot of Scousers in that team and Liverpool affiliations. There was some brilliant interviews afterwards, if you'd seen them, with the Accrington players as well, wasn't there? And it was great to see there was a lot of youngsters in the ground today, because the FA Cup third round can sometimes be one of those that, and I say this carefully for anyone who jumps on it, regulars on, always keen particularly on going to for various reasons, and a 12:15 kickoff isn't the best time for everyone. But let's be good about this. It was great to see so many youngsters and a real ripple of noise at times as well. So a lot to like about this game. Couple of things to really like are the Scousers in the team. And I'm saying that plural because there was a couple of Scousers in this that shined so brightly, and it was great to see. I mean, the vice captain, how good was he today? It's been a tough time for Trent Alexander-Arnold recently, hasn't it, after that United performance? And that's understandable. It's, somebody should just escape completely. But a good little cameo at Spurs. And people are going to jump on this as well. I know it's League Two, Accrington Stanley, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful when I say that. Arne Slot mentioned that when talking about Khvicha, which we'll come to later on as well. But had a bit of swagger about him, didn't he, Trent? Just controlling that, inverting a lot, some great passes, not always on the money, but just making things tick for Liverpool throughout the time he was on the pitch. And by the way, what a hit. I mean, literally rolled to him, one touch, practically no backlift at all, and bang, inside the post, into the top corner. An absolutely superb strike. It was the moment that punctuated the match, I think, more than any other. And he wasn't the official man of the match. That went to Endo, and if anyone's interested in that. But fair play to Trent. And what I also liked, you see from the photo, all four parts of Anfield gave him a great round of applause as he left the pitch. He gave it back as well. The arms out wide when he scores that goal. So, yeah, we don't need to talk contracts today. Maybe that'll come up in the future. But so much to like from the first Scouser we'll talk about. The second one, as Jayden Dans says on that official website photo there, I don't know what it is about the FA Cup. I'm buzzing to score again. Easy to forget last year, when we had obviously injury crisis galore, he got those couple of goals against Southampton. One was a brilliant controlled chip finish, wasn't it? This game came off the bench, so it's a cameo, but a good goal and so much to like. If you think about that move specifically, he wins the ball. He picks it in a high midfield area. He drives forward. Dans lays a beautiful ball in to Federico Chiesa, doesn't he? Who hits a decent shot, saved by the arm of the keeper. And more importantly, he just seems to have this awareness, Jayden Dans, doesn't he? It just comes alive in the box almost, but follows in and buries it into the roof of the net, down the middle. So Jayden Dans, now people people, again, because we're talking about League to Accrington Stanley, I know I'm almost saying that and it sounded disrespectful. Please, it's not meant to be as well. It's just bringing a sense of realism to it. Because I'm hearing all sorts of people saying this kid should be in the first team. And you may think that everyone is entitled to the opinion. I really, really like the look of Jayden Danns, just to be clear. However, it will be interesting to see if he does go on loan, doesn't it? Or on a slot. Different plans from me. He did say afterwards, I'm not really thinking about that at all. But yeah, the two Scousers today, absolutely brilliant. One from the start, one from a cameo. A lot to like about these two. And speaking of another youngster, the youngster who made way for Jayden Danns. I mean, young Rio Ngoma, I think it's pronounced, if I'm getting that right. Just listen to sort of the round of applause he got when he came off late for Jayden Danns. Look at that. Anfield on its feet for a 16-year-old kid. Not even 17. People have mentioned this. Everyone knows the stories about Chelsea. We've brought him with promises to the first team. Good. How impressive did this kid look today? He just seems to have, I don't even know what you call it, a sprinkling of stardust, real twinkle toes, the ability to just sort of stand on the ball, beat a man. And you shouldn't always compare directly, but certain elements almost reminded me of Jadon Sancho, the way he did things and the good things, not the other stuff. But what a talent. You can see as well, Arne Slot is going to be very nurturing, very careful with how he uses young Rio. But for a debut to become the youngest player in our FA Cup history, just wow. Wow. So much to like. Most importantly as well, he did not look out of place in that lineup. Bit raw, few things to learn, but exactly what you would expect from a 16-year-old kid. And yeah, so much to like. Now, a lot of people made a lot of things about the lineup, didn't they? And Trent starting, does that mean Conor Bradley's first choice? Why is young Rio in? Does that mean, surely Chiesa's off? Arne Slot answered this post-match about Rio and Chiesa on the bench.
Yeah, Rio was lucky that Federico wasn't with us in the last 2 days because he was sick. Otherwise, Federico would have started, of course. Now he could play 45, so we could bring Dom 45 minutes, bring him out, and then Federico. I think it's nice to make your debut. And if you've made, for Federico, of course, not a debut, but if you played for this club already, then you want to score your first goal, especially in front of your own fans. And that's what he did now. So that's
brilliant. And it really was a tale of three senior attackers. As much as we talked about Danns, as much as we talked about young Rio, it is important to speak about the three senior attackers at the same time. I mean, Arne Slot, crystal clear there. If Chiesa hadn't been ill, he would have started. So young Rio would have been on the bench. So that kind of dispels a little bit of the, not 100% because we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but it dispels these definitely off. Basically, he'd been ill the last few days. And a few people have flagged this, I've seen on various social media, and I kind of get this at the same time as well. That is the fourth time that Chiesa has been declared ill by Arne Slot since he's been here. So I don't know if he's struggling with the Merseyside climate or whatever it is a bit strange for a player to be ill 4 times in sort of a 6-month period. That is, and before anyone jumps on that, that is what Arne Slot's telling us. We've got to work on that good faith basis, haven't we? So it is a little bit unusual, but it ends with a positive. And this is a quote from the press conference afterwards from Arne Slot about Rio Ngoma and his debut at senior level. What does he say? He says, I think he's been with us now for half a season. every time when he comes training with us, we see what his qualities are. He can dominate one-on-one situations. He is very quick on his feet. He can change directions really fast. And I'm always happy if a player makes his debut that he shows what we see on the training ground as well, so the fans could see it. And I think the fans liked what they saw. You could feel this in the stadium in the first half already. And when I took him out, from the reaction of the fans, I think we could see that they saw as well. And that's why we wanted to play you the sort of reaction that all four corners of Anfield also gave him that reaction. But important to talk about those senior players. And Khvicha, first of all, I mean, we know he would have started now if he hadn't been ill. I mean, that strike, what a hit it is. Literally, it's from distance, it's controlled. We've not seen much of Khvicha, but what we have seen, he carries a serious goal threat, doesn't he? We've seen that against West Ham. We've seen that in the Brentford game at home on a sub. We see it in the Carabao against Southampton, the quarter-final. If you remember, he had a few cleared off the line, didn't he? On another night, he's got a couple of goals. We see it in this one that he hits the post earlier in the game, doesn't he, in his cameo? He has a few shots blocked at the same time as well, or deflected wide. And then he probably... I'd give it to Trent still as the best goal of the game, but he hits an absolute beauty in this one. I like that, Damo. Khvicha jinking his way into the box gives me chills. He does seem to come alive in and around from the very, very, very small sample size that we have. There is a lot to like about Federico Khvicha. And if he is to stay, and I'm saying this, I don't know, there's a lot of rumours, there's a lot of talk, but if he is to stay at Anfield, let's be honest, we'd like to see more minutes from him because he does carry this threat. No two ways about it. And a good goal, a nice reaction, a kind of humble one from him at the same time as well. Darwin Núñez. I actually feel for him. It just looks like almost a recurring nightmare for him. I mean, let's give him credit and for the first goal. It's a great assist, isn't it? He runs it well. He takes that pass and he weighs it perfectly, puts it on a plate for Diogo Jota. So I want to give him credit for that. The finish, though, that one where he almost the touch is good. He kind of waits till it rises too hard, but just a rashness, lack of composure. And this isn't attacking the play. I don't think anyone really expected him to bury it. And when he blazed it over, you probably thought, typical Núñez. I mean, God, Robbie Fowler's getting a lot of stick for this, isn't he? So you can see it on the screen there. This is what he said about Núñez. We're seeing the same things now that we were saying 2 or 3 years ago. So we are saying it. Yeah, that is raw. He's this, he's that. We can't keep saying that. So for me, the more I see him, the more I think he's not a Liverpool player. Yeah, you're probably right, Mr. Wally Dragner. It's pretty damning, isn't it? But at the same time, I didn't like the criticism of Robbie Fowler for this. He's a pundit. He is paid on that show to give his opinion. People are saying it maybe went too far. You could make a case from that. But if we are deadly honest, we're all expecting Núñez's time to be up in the summer, realistically, aren't we? It's almost sad for me a little bit. It's the harsh but true statement of what we're seeing. It does just look like he is suffering with, I can't even say low confidence, zero confidence at the moment. It is a bit sad to see, realistically. And you do wonder, and again, this is wonder, there's no proof with this, if Khvicha gets more minutes, you'd probably suspect he overtakes him in the pecking order, personally. Just thoughts there, doesn't mean it's true. And then the other senior attacker, Diogo Jota, everywhere, didn't he? He played like the number 10. He was on the left for a little bit as well in the rejig. And as you expect with Diogo Jota, a goal. just what you expect in these types of competition. That moves him to 7, I think it is, for the season. The only thing about this is, and feel free to throw your comments in and correct me if you feel I'm wrong on this, I think we've almost named our 3 for the Forest game. I think it's going to be Gakpo, Salah, and Diaz in the false 9, which I have to be honest, I was kind of hoping that Jota will get 60 in this and then be taken off, because I think against Forest, it's going to, I'm jumping ahead I get here, but it's going to be a game of very, very few chances. And Jota's probably one of the players you'd want it to fall to more than anyone. But we'll see. Yeah, a different tale for all 3 of the senior forwards. One brilliant cameo, one solid return to fitness, and one, maybe the less said, the better. Damo saying there, given our position at the top of the Premier League, I wouldn't like to see any other players leave. I wouldn't Damo either, just to be clear at all. With injury, suspensions, fatigue, fringe or not, out of form players could be crucial. Absolutely. Don't disagree with that at all, especially you think of Endo, the official man of the match, just someone who can be so useful in defence at the back, but also in that midfield, who are looking a little bit tired. It was nice to see that Grav and Mac didn't see a single minute today. Grav wasn't even in the squad, but also Szoboszlai just looked lively, didn't he? Probably just needed that little tick over, shall we say, and the run out. But yeah, no one wants to see anyone leave. And if anyone does leave, which we'll come to, we want to see a player come in. Zero doubts about that at all. So yeah, a real mixed bag, which brings us to the update, doesn't it? Khvicha, we talked about it on the transfer show, many pods the other night, that as David Ornstein and Paul Joyce put their stories out, that if Khvicha is available for transfer, Liverpool could act on that. And obviously there's an interest in the player. Well, Antonio Conte upped the state for everyone today, didn't he? Saying that Khvicha, if anyone missed it, has asked to leave Napoli, and asked to leave Napoli in this transfer window. So naturally that sent people into all sorts of different things. Everyone's entitled to their opinion on this, interestingly. But there's been quite a few updates. Fabrizio Romano has said negotiations, a deal, if you want to call it that, with PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, is very advanced. Alex Crook has also tweeted that Paris Saint-Germain are front of the queue and is expected to happen with them. So it's not impossible, don't get me wrong. It's looking very unlikely that Khvicha will end up at Anfield. And as I'm saying this, I understand what the reactions will be. It's just a natural part of Liverpool social media in the fan base. There'll be some saying it was the Kool-Aid, how could you fall for this, etc. Some saying Liverpool moving to... You're all entitled to your opinions, whatever it may be. For me, I do think we had an interest in the player. I mean, it's not a foregone conclusion right now, but I think it's 90% certain that he ends up at PSG, isn't it? We'll have to see what happens. I kind of mentioned this on the transfer show. Would I like him? Yeah. Why wouldn't you want elite players at Liverpool? Let's not be stupid. Is he absolutely what we need right now? Probably not. He's an upgrade, and obviously it's brilliant elite players that you want. But what about a left back? What about another midfielder in that regard as well? What about even another centre-back, left-sided defender, hybrid, whatever variation you may want of that? The only thing that is a little bit unknown as we're sitting here right now at nearly 4:30 on Saturday is Ibu Konate was with the squad sort of Friday, wasn't he? And there's a lot of people had him. We had the info at Anfield Index. We have to be honest that he was in the starting lineup. However, the suggestions that obviously he's withdrawn. Now, we've heard it might be illness. There is a worry, and this is what I don't know for definite. I have to be completely honest about that. Is it an injury? Is it what is it? Most importantly, we're thinking this is the only sort of dark cloud at the sort of imminent moment. Is he going to be available for Forest? because that is an absolutely massive game, isn't it, on Tuesday night? And especially against Chris Wood, the way they counter-attack, what it could mean as well. You do want Van Dijk to be partnered by Konate. And Ibu, let's be honest, from what we've seen in the recent games, he's not fit, is he? He wasn't fit against United. You saw it in the cameo he had the last, 10-15 against Spurs when Solanke gives him that. He's not fit. The fact he's now not playing in this one where we suspect it would be, I mean, just to be clear on this, I would love nothing more than Arne Slot to come out and say, nah, he's fine Tuesday and all that. Brilliant. But he did it in the press conference, which, hopefully we'll get some news on this in the next day or so. But yeah, that's the only sort of dark cloud wider afield, Ibu, and fingers crossed he is okay for Nottingham Forest. But transfer-wise, unless something changes and it is a style hijack, it does seem that Khvicha is off to Napoli. So we'll await developments on that one. Other AI content for you, ladies and gents, there is absolutely loads. So 1,000,001 articles around the game, player ratings, lesson learned, various things. And also there's a few comments from Khvicha's coaches, other ex-Liverpool players, which I won't give too much away. So plenty on the website if you're an article person. If you are a video person, YouTube, podcast, this is insane. Just look at how much in the last day or so that you've got realistically. You've had Media Matters with David Lynch. You've had the G&G show. You've had post-conference presser. You had video analysis specifically of Khvicha and links to Chiesa as well. Scouted when the boys ran down over Accrington in the coming games. Stat me up last night with me and Bart. The transfer show last night with me and Trev. Even earlier released the committee podcast, which came out with Dan, Dave, and the rest of the lads as normal. So you have had content galore in the last 24 hours. And even today, I know Jack did his watch along. Gags did the Gags Tandem show. So there's a million things for you to, and depending on how you prefer to assimilate your information, whether it's video, whether it's audio, plenty for you to watch, download, whatever the case may be. And there is plenty coming up this week at the same time as well. And even now, pretty much, I think it's finished in the last sort of 15, 20 minutes. If I'm right, it could still be going. Please don't quote me for definite on that because I've not 100% checked. Raw with the lads. So Guy, Dave, the normal crowd reviewing that game and previewing Forest coming up at the same time as well. So AI content, there is plenty for you to get your teeth stuck into, ladies and gents. It's a funny one, isn't it, when you have the 12:15 kickoff? I mean, it's so early, but for a game like the FA Cup, I'll say it again, I just think there's a niceness to it. The only cloud might be Ibu, so we'll wait news on that. But Trent shining, young Scousers like Jaden Dan's also shining, Rio and Goma playing out his skin, Chiesa, say he would have been playing if he hadn't been ill the last few days, but a cameo as well. Diogo Jota on the score sheet, and even others like you say the ripple of applause. It's almost wrong not to mention the likes of young James McConnell, who's just got a bit of, which I like, a bit of nastiness about his game, but a bit of ferocity. Jarell Quansah did well. And, there's a lot to like, all in the context of League Two, Accrington Stanley. And I say that with the greatest of respect to them because they do deserve sort of all the plaudits that came their way. There was just a nice feel about everything today. So we'll see what that brings. Plenty for you to get your teeth stuck into in the meantime. But on Saturday, the 11th of January, only if it comes thick and fast, doesn't it, ladies and gents? Only a few days before Forest away. That was another Daily Red for Anfield.